Lots more has been done to Piccadilly station, so keep watching to find out how it was done. Just before we start this week, I thought I'd give a big shout out to Double O'Neill. Turns out he's a local guy to me, but he's recently started his layout. It's mainly GWR steam from what I can gather, but there's a rather interesting narrow gauge part to it as well. So do pop across, have a look, subscribe to his channel, and I'm sure he would appreciate that. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now, in the last episode, you will have noticed I made that structure just there. And as I said before, I'm working my way around this whole area here. So you might think, well, what have I done in the meantime? You'll think there's some weights in there. And yes, there are. And I did tell a few people in comments, but the whole reason for that is because I had to replace the whole of that platform. Not the wall, the platform. I think, well, what's the point of that? Well, for some odd reason, I tapered it. So it was much narrower at this end than it was at the far end. So when I come to put the canopy on, some of you may have noticed that the wall was actually more almost in line with the first of those vertical bars on the window. And the whole canopy overlapped. I thought it just doesn't look right at all. Some of you also may notice that when I tried to correct it, the wall was leaning out. None of it was right, so I thought the only way I can sensibly do it is to make the platform the correct width, which then sends the whole of the station outwards sideways. So that's exactly what I've done, and you'll notice now that the wall sits straight and true, and it's also lining up with the top end of the canopy, which is what it should do. So my next job then, thinking about this structure I made before, is to start thinking about the wall going in there. But if I carry on just building the window and then up to the front edge of this canopy here, I'm going to end up in the same situation as what I did with the canopy and the existing wall. So what I've done is I'm going to make the roof section, and that will be a template for everything then that goes below. So my first job then, make the rectangle, cut the curve, and we'll take it from there. Welcome back. So as you can see now, I've got this part of the roof in and cut a big hole and sort of given it some basic colouring. But some eagle-eyed viewers might look at that and think, hang on a minute, there's something not quite the same. And you'll be absolutely right. The window here has changed. And the reason for that was because nothing was lining up. The actual roof part, if I take your CAD closer again, had to go below the level of that. If you look on Google Maps, and particularly the 3D version, you'll see it is lower. But then that meant that there was a huge gap between the top of the roof and the bottom of the window. It just wasn't going to work. So I thought long and hard how I could do it. Should I try and raise the roof up a little bit? I even thought about just cutting out that lower section of the that raised lift tower and just have the roof going around the top section. But I knew to make it look right, or nearer correct anyway, it had to go in that position. So my only option was really to make the window larger. And so that's exactly what I've done. Now, please do I'm drifting. Please do bear in mind there is a roof to go over the top here, hence why I cut out the hole, and it's a sort of domed roof or a curved roof. So that will then go back up into the glass area. But it also leaves a slight gap, if I can get you in there. Resting precariously on the back scenes here, just down there, but I can build the side of that back up to meet up with the top end of the canopy, so that shouldn't be too difficult. But I'm glad I've got that sorted, and it's taken quite a long time, many hours, to get that to remake that window and to glue it in. It's the gluing in that takes the time. It needs to be held for about 2 hours for the glue to bring the acetate in. But it's okay now, it's done. So I'm quite relieved about that. So I can now go on and start making the roof section. But what I also want to do is bear in mind I do want to model the interior just in case anybody does see inside, and it's going to be something there. And even if you can't see, I know it's there, and we can soon lift this roof off to be able to look inside. That roof I'm just talking about, this one here, is not going to be fixed. It's just going to be placed inside with lips around it, and you just sort of slot it in, you can pull it out and have a look inside. I think that's probably going to be amongst the easiest ways of doing it. Okay, there's the roof done. So you can see all the little trusses inside there, made in the same way as I did the main platform, the main station canopies. Pieces of strips of card, which just happens to be metallic card, piece of double-sided tape on the back, and then cut them into the strips that you want. In this case, they're 1mm strips, which I've put on both sides for the extra realism. Okay. Also, there is a little bit of extra roof gone in there. That bit does seem to have a flat roof, appears to be, anyway, on the pictures. It's very difficult to see that because the only real pictures I've got are from Google Maps, and the sky view doesn't give the sort of sideways detail, if you know what I'm saying by that. And it's very difficult to find any pictures that I've got this on because of the perspective. It sort of comes up and misses this part of the roof when somebody's standing on the platform, if you understand what I'm getting at by that. So it is difficult to judge that. So I've had to guess that bit. But there's the main structure so far. That will then sit in there like that and push up to the canopy, which is just here. Okay, now to locate it, what I've done is just taken, you might just be able to make out there, you could perhaps see these extra strips I've put on the bottom. Hopefully you can see that, and there's some locating parts. It's very difficult to see those, but trust me, that bit on the bottom there lands just short. Okay, so that will then just locate into that a little bit just there and won't be a problem. I'm going to leave that sort of as a lift-off roof because I want to be able to get to the inside of that. Okay, moving on. Now, next thing to start thinking about is the lower floor. Now, I've taken, this is platform height, this line, and I've decided that the footbridge and the upper level of the station is going to be 30mm above that. If an average person is about 15mm, that comes approximately halfway between the two. So you're going to have a similar height there and to there. But also that gives me just about enough space to accommodate a 12mm person when they're on the ramp coming up and on the upper level, because the floor will have some supports which will come in just about there, probably about 5mm, and that still gives plenty of height for a person on platform height. Now I've made this floor, as you can see, that will then be glued in there like that, and you might have noticed that this piece is wider because that will then go underneath the second canopy in and start forming the bridge part. Okay, right, there we are so far. So as you can see now, the roof is on, and I've even put a lower floor in now. That's just obviously just one of the walls, and I will say that there does need to be some glass going around the outside all the way around. up there, all the way around there. So you could probably see that lipping that I've put in. That's on the top as well. So I can just make some more of the glazing in the same sort of way I've made these glazing bars here. So they're all got to go in because it's quite a glass structure. And I am going to put in an interior. If I just tilt you down slightly, this part comes off so you can see inside. You will be able to, and I'm going to fit out that as an interior. Oh, by the way, please be aware this is a representation and that bar doesn't actually exist, but I've got to make it work. So, you know, it's just one of those things, and I'm not going to apologise for that. But there is a big set of toilets just there. I believe, if I've got my memory correct, there's a Costa just there, and there is a waiting room at this end as well. So it's getting there. It really is getting there, bit by bit by bit by bit. Oh, and there's going to be a whole load of columns going underneath. So I'll carry on working on the structure. I can't see the point in going into great amounts of depth with the build on this because it's a very bespoke building. When I did the canopies, I did include quite an in-depth view on how it was made because it's quite a generic process. You could adapt that for any canopy at any station anywhere, but that bit, not really, because it's unique to Manchester Piccadilly. So I'm just going to have to go with it, and I'll just show you updates every couple of minutes after that. All right, anyway, I'm going to crack on with those glazing and start the interior after that, and I'll catch up with you very shortly. So there we are. There's the building now with all the windows in around the inside of the station. So the tracks run this way, and this will be where platform 10, 11 is, and this will be where platform 12 is, if that makes any sense. And then the ramps will come up here to this point. Okay. And this part, if I put that in the same orientation as the picture there, hopefully you can start to see the building forming. Yeah. So what have we got? If I can get that to stay put. These windows here will be this window just there, and so I obviously need to build up all of this wall around here, and then that will double back on itself to form into platform 12. Okay, so it's just a bare bones at the moment, so I'm going to have to remove this part here, this part, and then rebuild the whole of that section, and then a piece coming in, and like I said, bending back. Have another look at that. And we've got a piece of platform here, and there is a wooden fence just there, and with a wire fence behind. So I'm not sure whether I model the wire fence. I might do. I'll have to think about that. But that's certainly going to have the wooden fence on it. Okay. Now, the problem I'm having now is, before I can sensibly build this, I need to know where the railing is going to come out. And then I can build this wall out to it. Because if you notice, this part of the wall goes underneath this and meets up around about there, which looks as if it's going to be almost to the other side. So I've got to model that in first, and that will help as a support for, well, I've got to put this in first and then put that piece in afterwards. And that will help as a little bit of support for that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the bridge, the footbridge. Even though I'm not going to go very far with it, I'll probably complete this section so that this looks finished. So there's going to a straight section running across here, across the other canopy in this position. That will be the third canopy. This is the fourth, obviously, just here. And then if you notice from that, you've got this part of the bridge coming across, which will then come across this direction. All right. So I'll first of all put this in, and that will tell me how far I can then work up to, because it will tell me how far I can come out, because this building is going to come across this way quite a bit more, if that makes sense. All right. Because this part here is going to be, I'm guessing, about 40 mil wide. And then this section here is probably going to be around about 60, 70 mil wide as it comes across. All right, so I hope that helps you to understand where I'm going with it. And I'll get all that done, get the main structures done, and then I can then start thinking about the interior features that are going in there. Okay, this is where we are so far. Just talk you through a few of the bits. I've put this window in here now. Again, the same way as I did those, just with strips and all those tiny little bits up there, which just represent the frame of the window. Obviously, the side's gone in down here, and there is a platform that I've extended on the actual layout itself, which I'll show you shortly. And coming underneath, you can see I've put all those columns in as well now. And you'll see I've even put the kick bars in as well. And they are pieces of solder, which I've wrapped around the tube. Just keep wrapping, and then just snip where the joins come, and then just flat them all off. It's very, very easy to mould, and just glue them on with PVA. But probably the biggest thing that you can see there is this piece going across here now in preparation for the bridge, the actual footbridge itself. And I've actually gone ahead and made a portion of it. Now, I thought long and hard how to go about doing this. And I've finally come up with this idea now, where you take these little plastic formers, which I'll just reach across and get one. Those, hopefully you can make that out. So it's again just a piece of acetate, and then notched out where these bars are going, and glued all those bars in. So obviously I had to notch them all out, and then painted them blue, a bit messily as well, I must say. It won't matter though, because you won't see it. And then I've gone ahead and just put some sticky strips over the top and painted those the same blue. Okay, now what I was going to do, and I must stress I was going to use some acetate on the top. But even the most floppy acetate that I've got wasn't able to make that curve without flattening out again. It just couldn't do it. Every time I tried to hold it, it would just spring back. So I thought this is a non-starter. So I've decided to go for some vellum, which is what we used to use in the crafting. It's pretty much like tracing paper front, to be honest. Let's stick that on the top there like that. And then obviously when all the strips are on the outside, it'll look a lot better. And if I want to light the inside, which I will do, I can still have light coming out of it. And I can easily darken down the outside, make it look a little bit more grimy as the real thing is. And I think that will work absolutely perfectly. All right, so I'm going to get that glued up, stuck on, and then the next The next time you see me will be at the layout. Okay, talk to you later. And there it is. So that's the first part of the footbridge gone in, and everything's now been weathered up and in position. So what did I do to actually make this? Use the paintbrush to point. As you saw, I used vellum to create the windows because, to be honest, like I said before, acetate just wasn't going to go around that tight curve. The curves on these are so much shallower and it's a lot easier to do. But so vellum on the top there, and then this is card at the front, the top end of the front. It's loose, by the way. And then silver strips, as I showed you before. So it's a big sheet of card, double-sided tape on the back, and then cut them into whatever width strips you want. Peel off the backing, stick them on. I have found with this metallic card, it does tend to delaminate somewhat. You can see there's a little bit just there, so that'll just need gluing down again. You just catch it and it just, the silvering bit just comes off. But, you know, it's one of the things with this stuff. But also, to point out some other bits, you'll notice that I've got the security fencing in there, and there is a big column just there, which is starting to support this. And if I take you around the other side, you'll notice now there is a fence in just there, and the little bit of extra platform just goes around there. So that's a much bigger V-shaped type platform that was there earlier in the week. Obviously, that I've left the top end of the bridge open because there's going to be another part coming across this way. All right. Anyway, I think that pretty much concludes the update for this week. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that and how things were done. So just to conclude now, I'm just going to give you a few shots of some trains running. I had one or two people mention the fact we haven't seen any trains running for a little while. So there's, I'm going to put that in for you. And it's just particularly going to be as if somebody is sitting on the bank just here, and what comes along the main line, and there's one train, I think, going down this line as well. So it's like somebody's train spotting, trying to come up with some different ways of doing it. All right, anyway, I'll catch you soon on Piccadilly. Have a good week. Take care now. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please do like, subscribe and share, not forgetting to click on that little bell to get regular notifications of any videos I upload. Some other videos are appearing on the screen right now which also might take your interest. Thanks once again, and bye for now.